Bennett. It's not, yeah, it's probably sick. Hello. How do I make a post, dude? Hello, everyone. Just sending out the social media message. Anyway, hello everyone. Can everybody see and hear me well? Welcome to the stream. Usually stream on Mondays, but we're here on a Tuesday. I wasn't here last week because I was on a lake trip. But yeah, everything is okay with me. How are you all? BM Great, thank you for $5 super chat. I hope you had a good time fishing. Well, I wasn't actually fishing. I was just hanging out on a lake. But it was fun. It was a good time. Mainly just kind of relaxing in the lake house and you know, just sitting in the dock out in the nice weather. Well, some people fish on lake trips, but I don't fish. I just mainly just use it as an opportunity to relax and have fun. Kind of depends. Sometimes it's a relaxing type of thing, and sometimes I go with a few friends and we just kind of party. So it's kind of depends, but I'm not much of a fisher. fisher guy, so I wouldn't fish otherwise. Some of the other people I went with, you know, they were swimming in the lake and things like that, but I was just chilling. Recently discovered your channel about a month ago. Good stuff, comrade. Thank you for the comment. Awkward and calm. I was talking about how last time the like YouTube has this, they've changed the way that the live stream stuff works, and there's like a few new things about it, but overall I've just had frustrations with it, so I'm just using the old one until they like get rid of it, which they almost certainly will eventually. But I've had no issues with the old live stream service, but YouTube just wants to change everything over to their new platform. What lake did I go to? I believe it was Lake Logan Martin, which is near me in Alabama. Yeah, I have been waiting for a Bayley heel turn for a long time. They finally did it. I didn't think they were ever gonna do it. Where's everybody from, by the way? Is this, oh. So yeah, I missed a week of the live stream because of the lake trip, and pretty much overslept yesterday. I would have streamed yesterday, but I kind of woke up fairly late, and I was gonna stream late, but I was like, I'll just do it tomorrow, I guess. Denmark, Trinidad, but currently in London, Alaska, Seattle. It's always cool, the variety of locations in the stream. Didn't know you were black. I don't know how someone could know who I am and not know that I was black. I feel like my face is like my whole brand. When did I dye my hair? A couple of weeks ago now. Probably two and a half weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that. It was visible in my last video and my last live stream. I don't think. I don't think I know. I don't know what LeBron said about China. Many Americans think Alaska is still Russian, or they think we're Canadian. Is that true? Do many Americans think that? Pretty sure I've heard of Mauritania. Definitely don't know much about it though. But yeah, I appreciate it. I've been wanting to put some color in my hair for a while, and I've sort of experimented with it with temporary colors, but my experience with temporary hair dyes is kind of a problem because I have too much hair. So, and temporary hair coloring tends to want to rub off and bleed on everything, and my hair is all over the place, so that's usually not a good combination. So I went ahead and got it done permanently. Yeah, I understood that it was a joke. And my hair, I was surprised how well my hair took to the dye actually. Because I mean, I had to bleach it first, but it like bleached fine. Like it was almost like just straight like white blonde when I bleached it, which I didn't think that the bleach would affect it that much. Because my hair is very dark. I mean, it's black, but it's just interesting. I don't know how hair works really. I may eventually get some more color, like maybe a different color, some other strands a different color, but I'm not quite sure. What are your opinions on hip hop changing sound? If rappers do more singing than rapping, should they still be considered rapper? I mean, I don't know. It kind of depends. It seems like most people are comfortable calling the more sing song rappers rappers. I don't think it matters that much, really. Like, it doesn't matter really what they're called. You just wake up, or do you just edit your videos to be more energetic? Both of those things are true. I mean, I've been awake for a little while, but not that long. But yeah, I guess people are often thrown aback by how much more calm I am in real life than on my videos, I guess. Not that my videos are super hectic or anything, but that's I feel like that's the case for most YouTubers. Because when you're on YouTube, you're performing, and most almost every YouTuber that I've met is quieter in real life than they are in their videos. Even the ones that are super crazy on their videos. Like there's a few people that are super like loud and outgoing in person, but like most people are, because most people who make YouTube videos are people that are used to spending a lot of time alone and are often not very extroverted. Um, that doesn't apply to everyone. In fact, I'm not very extroverted, but I'm still quite reserved and quiet a lot of the time. But yeah, everyone's like that. Rate your Photoshop skills from 1 to 10. Maybe about a 6. Um, but I feel like if if I need to figure out how to do something on Photoshop, it's pretty easy to just look it up. But in terms of stuff that I just know, it's just been, I've never like spent a lot of straight years learning Photoshop. I basically just got Photoshop and then learned one thing at a time based on when I needed it. And so there was a large period of time where I didn't really need to learn anything new because I knew how to do everything I needed to know how to do. But there's, you know, thousands of other things that you can do on Photoshop that I have no idea how to do. But a lot of times if I need to do something, I can figure out a solution. It may not be the most effective or convenient solution, but it'll work. And sometimes you learn new things as you go. Like for example, I use Photoshop a lot because I make thumbnails for my videos. And for example, a thing that you often have to do with thumbnails, especially the type of thumbnails I make, is to cut out a cut out someone's face from a background so you can put it on a different background. And there's like fucking 12 different ways to do that on Photoshop. And so over the time, I've learned better and better ways to do that. I used to use very inefficient ways, but I just didn't know any better. As a gay woman, I appreciate Heel Bayley. Well, as a straight man, I appreciate Heel Bayley. So we're on the same page there. Will I be watching NWA Power? I don't know. Probably not tonight. Well, maybe I will actually, because it comes on the internet. Because with wrestling, like I don't have TV. I don't have access to TV, and also basically I don't have access to TV, and I don't have like a subscription to Hulu or anything like that. So it's I rarely watch shows like when they first air, but that actually airs on the internet. So, but I'm trying to keep up with stuff more. Like I mainly just watch WWE because it's, you know, it's hard to miss. But there's a lot of other stuff going on right now that I should probably also watch. I hate the people in my college class. They're boring robots who don't have passions, and most of them don't shower. So I'm thinking about changing countries to meet better people. You could probably achieve that by changing towns or changing schools, because I can guarantee you that everyone is not like that. But, going to a different country is cool too. Seems like WWE doesn't take wrestlers, female and male, seriously unless they turn heel first. I don't. Well, it seems like WWE fans don't take wrestlers seriously unless they turn heel first. So I feel like a lot of that is just a reaction to the fans. But there are definitely exceptions to that. I think Daniel Bryan is a very big exception. Like, Daniel Bryan was pretty much on top of the company for a good like 3-4 years, and I guess he was a heel first though, but it wasn't like he turned heel and everyone started taking him seriously. Like, he got his real push as a face. Yo, shrimp po' boys are the shit for sure. There's only one town. Fair enough. Yeah, I forgot you said that you were from North Africa. Yeah, I wouldn't know what that's like up there. Yeah, I don't know. If Has it always been a thing that the King of the Ring gets to just say stuff and it becomes the law of WWE, or is that something that they just made up? I don't remember that always being. I mean, I kind of remember that they do that a little bit, but not to the extent where you can like actually change people's names. But I'm honestly into what they're doing with WWE right now, for the most part, which is rare actually. Usually, I kind of hate like 50% of what they're doing, but I actually enjoy most of the storylines and angles right now. By the way, we don't necessarily have to talk about wrestling. I understand that the title being about wrestling is kind of leading the conversation, but I talk about whatever is on the minds of the chat. So, and I'm guessing that probably a lot of people don't follow wrestling, so it might be an alienating conversation for a lot of people. action cartoons. Do those not exist anymore? Most action cartoons, at least when I was growing up in the late 80s and early 90s, most of them were just kind of commercials for toys. Like they were just designed to sell action figures. And it seems like action figures are not that popular anymore. I mean, I don't hang out with that many children. But I feel like it's just hard to compete with video games and the internet. What's up, Alex? Halloween plans, I don't have any very specific plans, but I'm probably going to throw on a onesie and just hit the town. Oh, it's raining outside. Yeah, I've never checked out the cartoons on Netflix. How strange is it that we're from completely different cultures and here we are? Yeah, I mean that's kind of the beauty of the internet. The internet has a lot of ups and downs, but that's definitely one of the cool things about it is you get to interact with people from all over the world that you would never even meet or hear about otherwise. Uh, Especially for me as a person with kind of a little bit of a following, I get to interact with a lot of people from a lot of different spots. Ton of action figures. I used to love action figures. I mean, I kind of still love action figures. I just kind of upgraded to figurines if I can afford them, like the more expensive figurines that you don't actually play with. And also, I started playing D&D, so I have a lot of miniatures like this. I don't know if you can see this guy. He's like a little cultist holding a book. I have to paint it. Let me see if I could. Do I have any painted one at arm's length? Who's this guy? This is an Oni. So I've got a bunch of those. That's kind of what I've graduated to. I don't think being brown is an issue in America. What do you mean? What do you mean by that? Were you ever actually a janitor? Nope. I feel like it would have been cool though. Maybe not cool, but almost every person that I met that was a janitor was like awesome. And it seems like a pretty chill job. So, I don't know. Yeah, there is a lot of non-English online spaces. I just ran my first D&D game. Awesome. That's great. I just started playing like less than a year ago. Maybe like 7 or 8 months ago. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why I continue to say that I will one day um, learn more languages. I've been saying that for about 15 years now, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah, beyond the pay being bad, I feel like being a janitor would be super chill and probably like relaxing, especially if you got to do it when other people weren't around. Like if you were like the night janitor or the closing janitor or something like that. Um, but yeah, from what I imagine, that it's not a very high paying job. And of course, you every now and then you have to deal with some disgusting stuff, but depending on the type of person you are, that's not that big a deal. Elementary school, after school, yeah. So if you got to be there when no one else was there, although I feel like cleaning up after kids is probably worse than cleaning up after adults. It probably should be a better paying job. Yeah, I mean, most everything should probably be a better paying job. But no, I've never been a janitor. That's one of the most common questions I get. But I have not ever been a janitor. It's just a silly name that I came up with when I was in high school, and it kind of stuck. And I'm honestly kind of trying to move away from it, but it's hard to change all my URLs. I actually know a decent amount of Spanish, but not really enough where I feel comfortable having conversations with people. The problem with learning languages is it's fairly hard, if not impossible, to really learn a language without sort of getting out there and being forced to speak the language with people, which is pretty awkward, and a lot of people don't want to do that. What about healthcare? That's like super important in America. Isn't a job that doesn't have healthcare is devastating in case of an emergency or something. Yeah, I mean it kind of depends. You can buy healthcare like yourself outside of your job, um, but it's probably going to be very expensive. Like probably going to be prohibitively expensive, especially if you have a like a full time decent job, and it depends on where you live too. If you make a job if you have a job where you make like close to no money, like if you make like less than $13,000 a year or something like that, you can either get really cheap or free healthcare with the addition of government subsidies. But any more than that, and it's probably going to be prohibitively expensive, like hundreds of dollars a month. Uh, so yeah, the fact that so many people's healthcare is tied to their employer is a huge problem, because if you lose your job, if you get laid off, if your company goes under, you just all of a sudden don't have healthcare anymore. It's a problem for sure. Problem is that sometimes adults are deliberately messy, and kids are just messy in general. I could definitely see that. Language skill also deteriorates if you don't speak it for a while. Yeah, absolutely. And I know this because I've made a lot of progress learning Spanish, but then I'll just stop doing it for like 3 years, and then I feel like I have to start all over almost. Am I a full-time YouTuber? Yes. Someone texted me. This is the noisiest chair of all time. But yeah, I used to work at a library a long time ago, and for the most part, like I used to like talk with like the custodians and people that work there, and it seemed like a pretty clean place. They kept it clean, but yeah, I heard some stories about people doing some just crazy stuff for no reason. It's like, why are you doing that? So you buy your health care being a full time YouTuber? Yes. We in America we have a thing called the healthcare marketplace website where you can just log on and sign up for healthcare. I don't know. I honestly don't know how it used to be. I think you probably had to contact companies directly. But I never had to buy healthcare because um, you can be under your parents' healthcare until you're 26 or something like that. And by the time I was ready to buy my own healthcare, the Obama had already come in and changed everything. But it's fairly convenient. It can just turn out to be pretty expensive if you don't meet the criteria. Wish you aren't one of the stupid YouTubers who don't pay taxes. No, there's way too much of a paper trail to not pay taxes as a YouTuber. I mean, my literal face is on the internet. Like, if the IRS wanted to get me, they very well could. And also, I don't really mind paying taxes. I don't think that the taxes are used. In this country, I don't think the taxes are necessarily used in the way that I would like, but the general concept of paying taxes is something that I support. And there are things that taxes go to that I do support, like social services and public education and public media and a lot of other stuff. So I probably wouldn't avoid taxes even if I could get away with it. But it is, when you're self-employed, as I am, you do have to put a lot of extra thought into that kind of thing because taxes don't get taken out of my check. Like a regular job, it's not automatic, so I have to be diligent myself and make sure that I'm saving enough money to pay taxes. What's up? As it is required. You pay a lot more taxes than I do here in Denmark. Is that true? I don't really know what the tax rate is in Denmark. Um, but I feel like the generally the tax rate is fairly low. In fact, it's probably too low. I remember a YouTuber only accepts PayPal donations because Patreon would be money paid for services, while PayPal donations would be a gift, and gifts are taxed less. Yep, gifts are not taxed at all, actually. And I back that. I think the problem is when your full income comes from gifts. I feel like the government may start to see that differently. Yeah, that's higher than America. 28%. Although 38, I think, yeah, yeah, I think both of those are higher. Like the lowest tax bracket in America is like 10% or something. And the highest is like 35 or 36 or something like that. And that's one of the things that a lot of the Democratic candidates are trying to change is basically increases in taxes across the board, but those tax increases raise sharply at higher incomes. Um, and when you take away expenses, like for example, I, many of them, particularly Warren Sanders and probably a couple others, want to basically make healthcare free. So, and most people who have healthcare pay a lot of money for healthcare. So the raise in taxes would be offset by the fact that they don't have to pay for healthcare anymore. I live in Alabama. I live in Birmingham, Alabama, USA. In Trinidad, we pay less taxes than the U.S. and we get a free public opinion and free uni via a means test. Yeah, I mean, America. It's the thing about America is our values and our priorities are out of whack. People talk about America like it's like this system that's like designed to inherently screw people over or whatever, but the system isn't made that way. It's the people who use this system for stupid goals, and it could be easily changed if different people were the ones up there doing things. And we know that it's possible because other countries have achieved similar things. Doesn't US have both state and federal tax? Yes. I don't know how that all adds up though. But definitely definitely most people don't pay 28% of their income in taxes even when you add it all up. That's for sure. Aren't people racist there? Yeah, people are racist everywhere. I think that's one of the common misconceptions, I guess. The fact that people in the South are racist and people like other places aren't racist. That's definitely not true. Not even close. I will say that the history of the South has left a lot of sort of overt racism. Um, like people, there's like a lot of racist and bigoted attitudes in the South, and that are like socially acceptable. Like people are just brash about it, and they just don't care because no one else cares. In other places, racism may be a little more subdued. People might, treat you a little differently. They won't straight up tell you to your face, but they might still treat you differently. But it still exists. No, America should not be used as a model for anything. There's a lot of potential for America to make some changes, and I think the first step to that is just completely getting rid of these people we have in power. But as it currently is, America is probably the worst developed country to use as a model for how other countries should be. As far as I know, we've stopped lynching people. If it still happens, it's done in very private areas. Um, but no, I mean the it's not it's not the 1950s anymore. We've evolved as a society. So mainly when it comes to racism, we have to deal with more subtle and systemic versions of it, but it's still there. Every now and then you'll meet someone that's just an overt racist, but again, that happens everywhere. And also, there's different areas of different places. Like I live in Birmingham, Alabama, which is the largest city in Alabama, and compared to it compared to more rural areas, it's a lot more progressive. So it depends on where you are at as well. Like the mayor of Birmingham, where I live, is like a super progressive guy. Is that a way to use the word lynching? I don't know. Sorry, I had to send a message. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I think there's the racism in the South is different than in other places, but I don't think that it doesn't exist in other places. Did I go to college? I did go to college, but I didn't finish. This might be surprising to a lot of people, but I've never really been into school. Like at least the way we do the academic system in this country is has always been just unappealing to me, and I've never really liked school. And that's interesting because I really enjoy learning about things, and I enjoy enriching my mind and things like that. but just I never really liked school. Jason Rushing, thank you for the $2. Any opinions on the Trump fake news vid? I don't know if I saw it. I actually, for the past like week or so, I've been completely out of the loop. So I may not even have seen it. I listened to the news a little bit, but I've been completely out of the loop. Especially because I stopped using Twitter. Well, I don't read Twitter anymore. I still tweet, but I don't. I've stopped reading Twitter. And honestly, Twitter is where I heard a lot of news. So I feel like I probably missed out on a lot of stuff from not being on Twitter. So I don't know. I may not be able to talk about recent news stuff because I'm kind of out of the loop. I'll catch up eventually, but I'm behind. What did I study? I actually was an English major in college. Basically, learning creative writing. English with a focus on creative writing. I think like how I used to keep up with the news was just in my car listening to NPR and stuff, but I don't really drive that much these days. So I might just like, download the NPR app and just try to listen to the news every morning just so I can know what's going on in the world. If everyone studied sociology, we wouldn't have Trump or the Republican Party. Maybe. I wonder if people would study sociology and then just ignore it. Because this is what's happening these days is people are presented with information, they just deny it. That's kind of the legacy that resulted in Trump. It was just this I get to decide my own reality. I get to have my own facts. If I don't like the facts, then I don't believe them. I don't think Trump created that. I think he's a result of that. But yeah, it's hard for me to even like think rationally about Trump. Like it's just something I don't really understand at all. Like I don't like I kind of understand it, but ultimately I don't understand. It's just like a guy. He's just so clearly a bad person, and he's so clearly a dishonest person. And I don't really understand how so many people just kind of completely ignore that. Like even like beyond the policies, like you can have really bad policies, and I wouldn't support a candidate that didn't have policies that I think that I thought were good, but the concept of just like being an awful human being, just like a bully and an asshole and disrespectful of women, and it's like I don't understand how you support a guy like that. Like, you want to think in this country that, I would always say that most people value, being a good person, being honest. That's like everything that we were taught as people growing up as kids is like be nice to each other, tell the truth. So, maybe that was all bullshit. What's up, Anik Paul? If I said that wrong. I think it's clear that most people don't care about politics because most people don't vote based on politics. They vote based on how much they like the person, pretty much. And that goes on. That's the left and the right, Democrats, Republicans, the whole thing. I think a very huge example of that is Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, who have these two. They each have their fan bases that just hates the other person, even though their platforms are as close to identical as any two platforms in this presidential race could be. If not identical, they're very, very close, and they're clearly aiming for the same goals. However, a lot of Bernie fans hate Elizabeth Warren. A lot of Warren fans hate Bernie Sanders. And it's just because it's based on their perception of the person and not actually their politics. So I think that most people don't vote based on politics or policies or anything like that. Yeah, I get Trump's narcissism and stuff. I just don't understand why it's appealing to people. Or at least appealing to enough people that he gets to be the president. Am I moving out? No. I'm trying to rearrange my room a little bit, though. I think people are we're just bad. We're just too impressionable. We're um, too easy to sway. We're too easy to be taken advantage of. If someone just comes and says the right thing, we can be driven to do and say awful things. I think that applies to anybody. People don't want to hear that the answers to their problems are complex and systemic and will require a lot of cooperation and effort and time. People want a scapegoat. People want someone to say, hey, the reason that you're struggling is because that person over there has that. And I think that's what people like Trump have learned how to do. But it's a problem, and it's a problem because we've seen stuff like this happen before. And we know what can happen when that sort of xenophobia is spread. Um, have you ever traveled internationally? Not really. I I went to Panama when I was a kid. That's kind of the only time I traveled internationally. I was born in Germany, but I left there when I was like 1.5. What's up, Hit Face? It's just wild to me that Trump was not like immediately disqualified because just for being like a shitty person. I think we learned a lot about America. Uh, Not necessarily learned something new, but we've had a lot of things confirmed about just the general state of America. Because a guy like that shouldn't win, honestly. Like, it's just, he just shouldn't win. But we learned that, there's a lot of people out there that are okay with a little bit of sexism and a little bit of xenophobia and a little bit of bigotry. Get to the point where I recognize your names. Sometimes it just depends. If you've been gone for a long time, then I'll probably forget. But if you come like every day or every time I stream, then I'll probably remember after a while. Especially if you donate a lot. Wink, wink. But the names are just one thing. Like, I don't. It's hard to like put a name with a face sometimes because I don't know what your faces look like, and sometimes I don't know what your genders are. So I'm just kind of winging it over here. Um, yeah, I was born in Germany. I was born abroad, American, on an army base. But like I said, I left before I was 2 years old. But he's going to get impeached, right? Probably not. Because in order for the impeachment process to go through, then I think they need what, like 2/3 of the Senate? So that means they're going to have to get a lot of Republicans to agree to impeach him, which I don't think is going to happen. Yeah, I forgot. But yeah, they need a lot of Republicans to agree with it. Do you think either Biden or Harris can beat him? It seems like these days Biden is just becoming less and less popular. Um, I think if it came down to Kamala Harris versus Trump, I think Kamala Harris would wipe the floor with him. The problem is I don't think Kamala Harris can beat many of the other Democrats. Jason Rushton, thank you for $2. Ever consider doing a monthly hangout for subs? A monthly hangout for subs. Well, you mean like a hangout where people get to be in the call? Because there's like too many people for that. And if you just mean like a live stream, I mean, that's kind of what I do already every week, or try to do it every week. You born in Germany, so your parents aren't poor. Well, I mean, I don't know how that follows. I was born in Germany because my dad was in the army, but then my dad and my mom got divorced, and I did grow up pretty poor, actually. Did I move into a new place? No. Are you saying that because I have a box in the background? I've just been kind to trying to rearrange things. When it comes to Trump, how do you think a lot of women vote for him? It's because in regard to that, is it just like religion? It's not rational. I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know the answer really. Um, there's a lot of theories though. I think a lot of women don't trust other women to lead. Just in general, a lot of women are traditional, and religion has a lot to do with it as well. Like a lot of, you know, it's common in Christian communities for women to not be allowed to lead. In fact, I'm pretty sure like says that in the Bible somewhere that they shouldn't, or something like that, or at least that they shouldn't be above women or above men. Almost every Christian I know believes that men are like the head; they should be the head honchos of the family and the workplace and all that. Um, so I think that's part of it. So I think just the fact that he's a man is a big thing. Um, but beyond that, I don't know. Like, I think it's for the same reasons that white men support him. I think white women do. I think it's naive for people to assume that white women are going to be like any more any different in terms of their outlook and view than white men in America. Can I see my subscribers? Like my YouTube subscribers? Yeah. I'm getting confused about the terminology. There's subscribers are the people that click subscribe on YouTube. Um, I don't have the YouTube membership button, so I don't have that yet. I do have a Patreon though, but I have hundreds of patrons. Um, there, I mean, I could do something for people who give a certain amount a month on Patreon, but I haven't really gotten much indication that a lot of people are interested in that. Like, I barely, I have 140,000 subscribers and I've only got 23 people watching a live stream. So I really have no reason to believe that a lot of people are interested in doing a hangout. From what I've been seeing, it looks like it's between Harris and Biden. My personal pick is Tulsi Gabbard, though. Um, yeah, I don't know. I honestly still think it's kind of too early to really put too much stock into any candidate because they're all going to be gone, in a year. It seems to me that Bernie Sanders and Warren are probably the ones that have said the most things that I agree with, but we'll see what happens. Growing up on an island, being away from the coast feels weird to me. Is there a similar thing you experienced from where you grew up? Not really. I I guess I've had the opportunity to experience a lot of different environments. especially like in a place like Alabama, like you can drive for an hour and like, or for a couple of hours and see a bunch of different, different scenery. You could drive through a crowded city and then go a little further and find yourself, in hills and countryside, and go a little further and you end up at the beach. So I don't really have any sort of specific thing that feels weird to me because I've kind of seen a lot of different things. Do I know any good jokes? I can't think of a joke. It's, I don't know, jokes are all about the delivery, I think. You should watch H Bomber Guy's uh, talk at XOXO Festival. It's a pretty uplifting story, and it's also funny because it's H Bomber Guy, so that might help. I think it was just released a few days ago, and I just watched it. I'd like to hang out with you, but that's kind of because your voice is incredibly smooth. I think I've got a pretty good voice. I'll be willing to up my monthly PayPal donations to get to do a hangout with you. Well, I'm sure there's a couple people that would do it, but I don't know. I can ask and see if people would want to do that. I've just never gotten any indication that people want to do that. I've tried a lot of different things, and I've realized that um, you got to kind of realize what people want to do. Every community is different, and some people just aren't into stuff. Maybe if I were a little more popular, there would be more people. Because it's always going to be a small percentage of people that want that kind of thing. But if I were a little more popular, there would be enough people to make it worth doing. And I'm also a little bit hesitant because I've heard of some weird people doing weird stuff when they get to be in situations like that. But I don't know if I don't have any specific reason to think that's going to happen to me. I like the small town life. The city life is great, but the goddamn rent really depends on where you live. The rent in Birmingham, Alabama is not very bad in the city or elsewhere. In fact, it's more expensive outside of the city. Um, what's up, Angry Marshmallow? Why do people talk about Kamala Harris as being a serious player if she has like 5% in the polls? I don't know. I'm not, like I said, I'm not putting a lot of stock into anybody right now, and you never really know what's going to happen. Am I still exercising? I kind of stopped exercising for a while, but I just recently got back into it. Um, but yeah, no, I kind of slacked for a while on my fitness and my nutrition, but I'm kind of getting back on track. I think, although it's like holiday time, and holidays are usually for stuffing my face and drinking alcohol, which is not very good for you. So hopefully I can keep it together and not get too out of control. Have I done any freelance work before? Um, I mean, yeah, not like a lot, but every now and then I would, find little jobs to make a few extra bucks. Do I have any YouTubers on the other side of the aisle that you think put out well constructed and thoughtful content? I don't know if you on the other side of the aisle, if you mean like conservatives. No, I don't think I watch any conservatives, and it's hard for me to imagine a conservative that I think would put out like good content, because I think conservatism is like inherently ridiculous. Um, but if there's one out there, I don't know. I don't, because I don't watch any. I don't think, not that I can think of. The closest thing would probably be Philip DeFranco, but he's definitely a hardline moderate, um, and probably, yeah. But as far as content goes, you could do a lot worse than Philip DeFranco. And honestly, I haven't watched him in a while, so I don't even know what his current status is. I've thought about getting to boxing, but then I realized that probably means that someone's going to punch me in my face someday, and I don't want to be punched in the face. Am I a communist revolutionary? No. Yeah, the rent in a lot of major cities is usually pretty ridiculous. And I guess they just do it because they know they can, because people are always going to come there. And it's not like, London or New York. It's not like everyone's going to leave. So I think they just do it because they know they can get away with it. Like, I've considered moving to LA, but I would probably have to like quintuple my income before I even consider doing that, because it's just too expensive. Yeah, I guess you could just hit the bag. Do you believe in political violence? I feel like you need to ask a more specific question. In general, no. Do I? It's like, do you believe in it? Like, do I think it's good to do? Then, in general, no. But you probably need to be more specific. I need to find something more active to do though, because I generally just lift weights, but I think I need to get the blood pumping, and I need to do some cardio. I was thinking about getting back into basketball or something like that, but I don't know. I need what actually might be fun. I was thinking about getting like a PlayStation VR or one of those VR things, and finding like a really active game that I can play, and just using that to get a little bit of cardio, because those games do make you break a sweat. The problem with a lot of cardio is because I'm so low stamina, I, I have to find something that I can do for a long time. Like basketball, for example. I like basketball, but I'm at the point where I run up and down the court twice and I'm completely out of breath and I need to sit down. And I know that over time you build your stamina back, but I might get discouraged very easily if I can't even participate in the activity for more than 20 minutes. Nestle is destroying your tribe's land and you are Native American. So what you attack Nestle? Is that I don't understand. Yeah, Super Hot is really fun. I actually played that the other day. But I know that I would be a lot more likely to play a video game because I like video games a lot. So if I can play a video game that also gives me a little bit of cardio, but I don't know exactly if it's actually comparable to true cardio exercises. But yeah, I need to do something though. I'm like I said, I've been slacking a lot on my fitness and nutrition. I was doing pretty well for a while, and it's something that's actually important to me. Like I dislike being out of shape. I don't want to be like that. So I'm going to try to fix it. And because of my circumstances, sometimes it's harder to do certain things. Um, Money is can be an issue sometimes. So what's up, Max Doe? Nestle's instilling a pipeline, so you destroy the pipeline. Well, I mean, in a situation like that, you can, if you determine that that's a effective um, political action, then I don't know enough about all of the details of that to really decide. But if you actually think that it's going to be politically effective, then I might be able to support it. It seems unlikely that that would be politically effective, though. It seems like you would just cause more trouble for yourself um, than you would help yourself. Like doing things out of spite or out of vengeance, I don't think is very useful, and that's what most political violence seems to be a lot of the time when you break it down. But I could see how certain violent actions could indeed be politically effective. Yeah, walking and jogging, that it's kind of boring. It's hard for me to really do that. But it's the easiest thing to do for sure. I was thinking about getting like a stationary bike just to have like in my apartment. So the thing with me is I have to figure out things that I'm actually going to do. And I talked about this last time how I'm really good at procrastinating and putting things off. And I sort of have to figure out ways to hack my life to ensure that I actually do things. So one way to do that is just to make it something that's fun. That's why I was thinking about the video game idea. Um, but I also feel like if I just have like a stationary bike like right next to me, then I'll probably get on it every now and then. Yeah, listening to a podcast or something would be pretty good actually, and I actually want to listen to more podcasts, so that could be a way to convince myself to do it. Because I never really listen to podcasts that much because I'm I'm always on my computer and there's always something else to do to distract. Like when I'm on my computer, I'm more likely to want to look at something like a video. Like I watch a shit ton of YouTube, but I rarely actually listen to podcasts unless the podcast has a video component. Then I'll watch it. But I think that's a good idea. Um, just set up some podcasts to listen to. I'm doing laundry right now and I hate every second of it. Yeah, I kind of don't like doing laundry either. Um, but I was trying to think about the reward for doing laundry. It's like, well, it's nice to have clothes to wear, and it's nice to not have dirty clothes all over the place. Not all over the place. I have like a hamper, like a little thing that a basket that I put my clothes in, my dirty clothes. And every now and then I'm just lazy and I'll just like throw a t-shirt on the in the corner of the room. And so it's like, hey, you could not have all that stuff over there and then things will look nice. And I feel better when things are clean and look nice. So I try to just remember the outcome. Joey Diaz is pretty funny. But there's a few ones there's a few podcasts that I think I want to check out and a few audiobooks. How do I see the Hong Kong situation going? I honestly am not informed enough about that to really have an opinion. Like I was saying earlier, I'm a little bit out of the loop because I haven't been really keeping up with the news. That's another thing I could do is listen to the news, although that would probably be depressing. Um, yeah, well, for one, I've kind of been doing a lot of relaxing the past couple weeks. Like I said, I went to the lake for a few days last week, so I didn't watch anything while I was there. Um, and also, like I mentioned, pretty much stopped using Twitter. Uh, I uninstalled it from my phone. I blocked it from my computer. The only time I interact with Twitter is if I want to tweet, which I do using TweetDeck. And on TweetDeck, you can completely get rid of all of the feeds. You can just literally only have the box that you tweet in. But Twitter is actually where I'll get a lot of my news, or where I first hear a lot about a lot of news. So not having that, I think, has kept me a little bit out of the loop. So I'm gonna have to take some extra effort, I think, to follow the news, which I guess is interesting. It's probably surprising to a lot of people because I'm kind of known as a political YouTuber or something like that. But politics is depressing, dude. I have to take breaks from it every now and then. Yeah, I rarely iron, but I pretty much only wear t-shirts and jeans. So I rarely am doing any ironing there. I actually have I actually recently did laundry, but I have not folded the clothes in like several days. So I should do that. Yeah, I actually don't swim, but I do like being on the lake in general. Yeah, I'd rather steam than iron. What was your take on the Dave Chappelle latest stand-up special? It was funny. I mean, there's a lot of cringy stuff in it, but I don't know. It's fine. He expressed some views that I don't really agree with, but it's fine. I don't know. I don't really. I don't get like. I don't know. It's like I don't know. If you don't like something, especially like comedy, like if you don't like it, just don't watch it. Watch something else. Like if someone's saying something is so like if someone's saying something you disagree with or that you find offensive or disgusting or whatever, it's just so unbearable, then you should really not watch that thing. Just make your life easier and watch something else. I just don't really understand this sort of like addiction to outrage that people have because I don't like being outraged. It's unpleasant to me, so I try to avoid it. Um, well, I've started to hang up a lot of clothes also, rather than fold them and put them away, because that makes them easier to get out. But I feel like it's more efficient to just fold everything all at once and then put it away rather than having to grab a hanger for each individual thing. So I don't know. Do I like video games? I do like video games. But yeah, my wardrobe is very simple. It is almost all t-shirts and jeans. I'm trying to branch out from jeans and wear some other kinds of clothes like chinos and joggers and stuff. But to date, it's just been jeans. Marie Kondo. Marie Kondo is only 35 years old. That's insane. I feel like, yeah, she was active. What? So she was doing this shit when she was like a child. I didn't know this. I feel like I remember hearing about Marie Kondo when I was a kid, like in high school. But she's like the same age as me. I don't know. All right, the Fireball. Thanks for coming to the stream. I might look up some of those clothes folding tips. But I also just need more space. I hope to by next year to move into a bigger place, hopefully a house instead of an apartment. But we'll see how that works. Because I'm kind of cramped and it's kind of hard to like organize and put things up in the way you want when there's not a lot of space. Have I watched any AEW? I watched. I haven't watched the show yet. I watched one of the pay-per-views. It's pretty good. I'm wondering how sustainable it is, though. Like, can their wrestlers keep up that level of match year round, or do they even intend to do it year round? Definitely don't move to LA then. Is everything small there? Honestly, it's hard to justify it from a financial aspect. It's hard to justify leaving Alabama because it is very cheap to live here. And honestly, it would be kind of cool to be based in Birmingham, Alabama. You know, I've become, this is my hometown. It's for all its problems, it's still the place that I'm most identified with. But there's just obviously more opportunities in a place like LA for someone involved in what is essentially entertainment. Is the stream buffering or anything for other people? It's not messing up, is it? It's being a little weird on my end. Do you feel like society as a whole is getting more argo? What is argo? I feel like when I'm out and around people, that the vibe I'm getting. Maybe that's just me though. Oh, aggro. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of things I think that people think that they're just people. Social media has sort of convinced us that people give a shit what we think and that our opinions matter. Uh, so I think that's part of it. Because I feel like, back in the day, people were just kind of like polite and they realized that, you know, like everyone has an opinion. It's not that big of a deal. But now I think everyone thinks that their opinions matter and that if they have an opinion, they must share it with the world. And people who don't agree with their opinions are stupid and dumb and bad. And I blame that on social media, because on social media you can say something and then like you literally, it's like literally they put your opinion at the top of the page and it's like, hey, everyone come comment on this opinion because this opinion is worth commenting on. And if you like it, you can put a thumbs up on it. And then some people actually get lots of thumbs ups on their opinion. And that can fool you into thinking that your opinion matters more than other people's opinions. I've said it many times. I really think opinions are overrated. I think people put way too much stock in their opinions. But it does seem to be spilling out into the real world. And also, I think in America at least, the fact that we have, a president who is just an actual asshole, is like an actual real life bully and troll. Like it's certainly going to rub off on the country. It's going to convince people that that's an okay way to be, or that it's okay to be super confrontational in real life, or to be super defensive, or to have really thin skin about everything. There's a certain saltiness abroad. A lot of it thrives in the reactive spiral of the internet. Yeah, I think, yeah, and I think it's probably seeped out into the offline world a little bit. Especially if we're talking about younger people. Like if we're talking about millennials and stuff, I think millennials are super aggro. Because not only were we around for the rise of social media and the rise of being told that our opinions mattered, we were also told by the previous generation that we were like super special and that we could do whatever we wanted to do, and that, you know, we are entitled to greatness just by virtue of being born. So there's a combination of a lot of things. But it's definitely not unique to millennials, but I think there's probably different explanations for different things depending on who you're talking about. Yeah, I feel like you can't discount the influence of Trump, but it's obviously not the only factor. But yeah, thanks for coming to the stream, Angry Marshmallow. I'm going to be leaving pretty soon, probably in about 15 minutes myself. Um, yeah, the thought, if the president can do it, so can I. And I think that that even applies to people who aren't Trump supporters, because I think a lot of people are like, well, if they get to do it, then I get to do it. You know, if my opponents get to act wild, then why don't I act wild? Yeah, I mean, the millennial versus boomer thing can get pretty exhausting for sure. I think it's interesting to point out the differences between cultures and stuff, but this idea that one side is the cause of all of our problems, which they both argue about the other, is almost certainly oversimplified. But it's hard to talk about because I don't really know what the solution is. But I will always, personally, I will always suggest and advocate compassion, because at the end of the day, no matter what happens, that's always going to cause good things. It's always going to make people happy, and it's always going to make you happy. And it just seems like the moral thing to do. Now, there's obviously some action on the ground that needs to be taken in order to just make society better as a whole. But all I can do is use my small platform to try to convince people to be nice to each other. Uh, that's pretty much, I think, all I can do. Uh, Not everyone is going to be convinced. So for those people, that's they're gonna have to carry on with their life the best way that they know how. But yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I feel very like out of touch with this world, and I don't like that sort of rhetoric, which I hear a lot and I say a lot, I guess. It's easy to feel completely out of touch, or like you just kind of feel like you're from a different planet than the rest of the people in the world. And I feel like that's a really dangerous mindset to actually go down, because we're all out, we're all just trying to make it. People are unique, but I think we all have a lot of the same issues and worries. And I think it's better to try to find ways to connect with people rather than just assume that no one can understand what you're going through, because I don't think that's ever true. And I think that if more people found ways to connect rather than to distance and divide themselves from others, I think that would probably make the world better. And we'd probably be better at finding solutions to problems. Yeah, I think that, I don't know, people are just sort of very resistant to thinking about the world in complex and nuanced ways. People kind of always want to find the one problem or the one black and white solution, which I just feel like the world rarely works like that. So like there are 100%, systemic institutional issues that have led to the state of the world as it is today, or the state of the country as it is today, that people like me and people younger than me had nothing to do with. That's obviously a thing. But that doesn't also discount the fact that there are things that you can do in your life that can help you improve your state of mind and state of being and your situation. And you have to understand that both of those things can be true at the same time. Like I kind of fear for a lot of younger people, because I think that a lot of young people think that they kind of have this idea where if only the thing that I want to happen will happen, and that will solve all of my problems. And I just really don't think that's true. Like, just like a basic example. There's a common cliche that money doesn't buy happiness, and I think most people understand that. But there's a lot of young people that if you tell them that money doesn't buy happiness, they actually get mad at you. They're like, if I had money, trust me, I would be a lot happier. And it's like, I don't know if you would. I really don't know if you would, because the fact that you're placing so much stock on this one thing rather than, the true causes of happiness, which is like, lack of stress and I understand money causes a lot of stress, but it doesn't fix all of your problems. And that's just an example, but I've experienced people who actually get mad at you when you say that money doesn't buy happiness. And it's like, it really doesn't. I promise you it doesn't. But I think a lot of people think very one-dimensionally. They think, oh, if only this one thing were fixed, that will solve everything. Even when I have conversations about like society and economics, like I've gotten to a lot of conversations with people about America's system and capitalism. And there's a lot of people that are like, as soon as we dismantle capitalism, that's going to fix all of the problems. And it's like, it's probably not. And I kind of I'm scared for you that if you actually manage to get some of these things that you want, and you realize that the world isn't fixed yet, what's that going to do to your worldview and state of being? Another issue is we're talking about boomers versus millennials. I remember even saying it myself growing up. It's like, we just got to wait for all the boomers to die. The boomers are the ones that are the conservatives and the racists and stuff. We just got to wait for them to die, and then the world will be fine again. And I think we're starting to realize that that's not really the case, because we're seeing a lot of young millennial, even like Gen Y people who are symptoms of the same, conservative, reactionary, bigoted, etc. worldview. So it's not just waiting for the boomers to die. It's just the solutions are always complicated. Yeah, I think social media is bad. I just did a video about it, actually, if you haven't seen that yet. Um, and like I said before, I have stopped using Twitter. Hopefully I continue that trend, but I deleted it from my phone and my computer. And for me, Twitter was a large source of unpleasantness in my life. I don't have too much of an issue with like Facebook and Instagram, but it could be just because of the way that I use those platforms. Like, I only use Facebook pretty much to communicate with my close friends and family. I don't use it for news. I'm not in too many groups or anything. So maybe that's why. But Twitter was a big problem for me, and I just finally decided, it's like, fuck this, dude. I mainly kept it because it's good for my career, I guess. And also, it's just a good way. It was probably the best way for me to interact with the people who actually watch my stuff. but it just wasn't really worth it at the end of the day. And I've created a lot of other ways for people to interact with me, like this live stream, for example, and Discord and stuff like that. So, what advice would you give to a high schooler who's becoming disillusioned in the public education system? I don't know if I'm the correct person to ask this question because I was a high schooler who was disillusioned with the public education system, and I don't think that I haven't really changed my view on that. What I would just say is just get it done. Just survive it. Really, just survive it. Just get it done. It's worth it. It's kind of dumb, but this country or this world, really, I don't know what country this hypothetical high schooler is in. Probably America, because he called it high school, right? Do they call it high school in other countries? Anyway, just get it done. We value having that high school education. And to some extent being around, I think if there's anything good about public education, it's the idea that you're forced to interact with real people a lot, and I think that's good. And it teaches you that there are different types of people in the world with different backgrounds, and different views, so that's good. But I would say just get through it. It's worth it. It's better to do it than not to do it. So just survive it. It'll be better after, I promise. You'll look back on your high school years and be like, "Hey, that was dumb." But you won't care. Like, um yeah. If possible, I would say just try to engage with the things that you're learning and the things you're being taught, because it's hard to see it at the time, but it's actually all really interesting. Like, it's all interesting. Math is super interesting, science is super interesting, history is super interesting, literature is super interesting. It's all very, very interesting. It's hard to experience that in school because a lot of times the teachers aren't very engaging, or you're just forced to do a lot of busy work that doesn't really like interest you. But I would say just try to put a little effort into to engaging with the content, or like if you've been assigned something, go home and look on YouTube, watch some interesting stuff about it on YouTube. Like if you're doing geometry or something in school, go to watch Number File on YouTube and watch their geometry videos. It's super interesting. I promise. It's very interesting. It's all interesting. I promise. I but I get it, and I didn't realize this in high school. I didn't realize this until after school. So I would just say try it. Just try. It may not work, but just try to like listen and be like try to find listen for the interesting parts, because it is interesting. Um, Yeah, Crash Course is a very good resource if you're trying to make educational subjects interesting. So, I would try that. There's a lot of great educational YouTube channels. So if you just need something to supplement school, just to learn why it's interesting and why it's worth learning, you can try a lot of those channels. There's Number File, Minute Physics for like math and physics and stuff. The Veritasium for science, Vsauce, stuff like that. Of course, Crash Course, SciShow. Yeah. But ultimately, just get it done. That's the main thing. I think it's worth it. And you actually will realize that a lot of the stuff you learn in high school comes in handy. Just for basic stuff, Like the other day I was trying to figure out like how far away something was, and I realized I can actually use the Pythagorean theorem to figure this out. That's fucking crazy. I never thought I would use this. Um, Stuff like that. But yeah, I completely understand how school can be disengaging because it was for me. But later I learned that all of this stuff that they were trying to teach me is actually kind of cool. And I kind of wish that I would have tried to pay more attention. So that's what I would suggest is just try to do that. I'm not going to guarantee that it's going to work. You might have really bad teachers, or you might have teachers that don't really care about the subject matter themselves. But you might have some good teachers too. I had a combination of good teachers and bad teachers when I was in school. But we have reached that 2 hour mark, so I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here in about a couple minutes. We could probably get one or two more questions in there, but just want to thank everybody to come in my stream. Sorry I didn't stream last week, but we're back, and we should be back again next week, next Monday, not Tuesday, Monday. I usually stream on Monday. This is an exception. But yeah. I should have a new video, I guess, next week. Yeah, next week, probably. So look out for that. Like I said, I don't read Twitter anymore, but I still tweet. So if you're interested in just hearing from me a lot, you can still follow me on Twitter. If you just want to hear my hot takes on WWE and sitcoms and occasionally politics, you can do that. If you want to actually talk to me and hear from me directly, the best ways to do that are to email me, which would be hello@theonejanitor.com, or join the Discord, theonejanitor.com/Discord, if you're not already a member. And also Curious Cat, curiouscat.me/theonejanitor is a good way to ask a question and possibly get an answer. If you would like to watch a replay of this stream or any of the past streams, there's a link in the description of this video with a link to a playlist of all of the live streams that I do. It's an unlisted playlist, so the only way to get to it is if you have that link. That's going to be in the description of the video. And of course, if you want to support me, consider becoming a patron on Patreon. It's the ultimate way to support me. I'm setting up a new goal on Patreon. I'd like to get to the point where I'm doing 2 videos a week. 2 videos a month, not 2 videos a week. I'm not there yet. I'd like to get back to doing 2 videos a month, but I don't want the quality of the videos to diminish. So I've set up a new goal on Patreon where if I get to a certain point, I can get a little bit of help. I can basically hire some help so that I can make the videos more frequently. So if that's interesting to you, you can consider supporting on Patreon. I think that's about it. But yeah, new video next week, and should be back on the live stream next Monday. But I suppose that is all. Anyway, bye.